Sandra
everyone.
McLean.
So let's change how we present. For tonight, so I'll be just sharing you 5 questions in terms of updates for drugs. But with that, I'll be using a Microsoft Word to which I will just type updates. And I wish you would learn from my session. So just give me a minute so I could share my screen. Saan na ba yun? Okay. So I hope you are seeing my screen as I speak. Saan na ba yun? Okay. So are you seeing my screen? Please say yes. You have no other option but just say yes, okay? Okay. So I hope you are learning, especially from Dr. Ray. So I am also learning from his session. So I just also learned a while ago your ankylosing spondylitis and your ERA. Yeah, so I also learned from him. So let's go over and talk about our NGN drugs. Okay, so let's go over with this one. So a client with treatment-resistant schizophrenia has been prescribed your clozapine. So take note, your clozapine is technically a second-generation antipsychotic. And typically, for patients taking in clozapine, you have to watch out for agranulocytosis. So how would you know if a patient would experience agranulocytosis? So basically, by checking on their labs. So primarily, before they are asked to take clozapine, you have to check their absolute neutrophil count. Okay? So the nurse reinforces teaching regarding required laboratory monitoring. So how often should the nurse expect the client about absolute neutrophil count to be monitored after 12 months of therapy without neutropenia? So take note. So for example, if you have just read this a couple of years back, so technically your answer here would be either once a month or every other week or once a week. So take note, my dear colleagues. Especially this is a tricky question because there is the element of time. So the question is asking when or how often should you monitor the absolute neutrophil counts if the patient's already been taking your clozapine for a year. Okay, so that's a little bit tricky, right? So let me know, what is your answer if the question is asking about how often would you check if the patient is already taking it for a year? Let's see. If you know the answer, let me know your answer on the chat box. O ayan, walang sumagot. Ibig sabihin, hindi alam. Gaga. Bakit walang sumasagot? O, lahat sila, oo. Is it one or three? Gaga, ano to? Lahat
You
may
are right,
question mark.
Miss McLean. What they know is just once a week. You see, they don't know how to analyze. They just know how to oralize.
Correct, sir. So remember, my dear colleagues, take note, as I see through your response, your answers would have question marks. So in short, you don't know what's the correct answer. And that's completely fine. Okay? So take note. So remember, if, for example, if the patient is taking it, okay, from 6 months to 12 months, so technically, the correct answer, if it's from 6 months to 12 months, the answer would be every other week. Okay. If it's less than 6 months, okay, less than 6 months, so remember, every other week is for 6 to 12 months. Once a week is typically for patients taking it less than 6 months. Okay. Then, only before starting the medication, technically prior to giving your medications, you have to check the absolute neutrophil count. So this will be eliminated. So therefore, you are only left with one answer. And your answer here is, what's your answer? Number one. So take note, for patients taking in clozapine for more than a year, you are required to check the absolute neutrophil count once a month. Ah, di ba? Ayan. So the answer here is letter.
Wow, that is really an update.
Yes. So even sir, no, when
That
I
is
also
really an
studying for
update.
the NCLEX, no, I was only taught, like when you have taught this topic, actually, you always mention this one every other week for 6 to 12 months. But of course, if you go beyond 12 months, really it's once a month. So I hope everyone is learning. Ayan. O, di ba? Okay, so let's go over now with the next one. So I hope you
Yeah.
have
RL is saying wow. They're saying wow, Miss McLean.
See? So if, for
They just
example, you are
learned it
joining
from
free trial
us,
classes.
85 mentors.
So imagine if you're just only joining free trial classes and they just don't know how to discuss this, then definitely in Filipino, you would say, ngangay. Ngangay tayo dyan. Correct? Let's go over with the question number 2. So a client receiving high-dose haloperidol develops sudden high fever, muscle rigidity, altered mental status, and autonomic instability. So take note, in this question, you are given sets of signs and symptoms. So, before answering the question, so which of the following medication should the nurse anticipate administering as part of the treatment plan? So, the first thing you need to know is to identify what is your working diagnosis. So, take note, haloperidol is an antipsychotic, correct? So, that's your first generation. And usually, take note, first generation antipsychotic, usually if you would see high fever and muscle rigidity, you are led to answer neuroleptic malignant syndrome. Take note of that. So the moment you see high fever, muscle rigidity, and the patient is taking in antipsychotic, that is your neuroleptic malignant syndrome. However, if for example, if the question here would say the patient is taking in an antidepressant, okay, for example, SSRI, your Prozac, Zoloft, and if the patient would develop high fever and muscle rigidity, that's not neuroleptic malignant syndrome. That is your serotonin toxicity. So take note, they somehow share, there would be an interlapping sets of signs and symptoms, but the key to differentiate the two is that you need to check what type of medication is the patient taking. So in this situation, the patient is taking in haloperidol. So suspect that the patient might have neuroleptic malignant syndrome. Correct? Okay. So take note, the patient is taking an antipsychotic. Okay, so let's go over. So which of the following medications should the nurse anticipate as part of the treatment plan? So remember, select all that apply. So remember, number 3 is already eliminated. Why? Why do you give, why for patients developing neuroleptic malignant syndrome, the first thing that you need to do is to stop the medication that causes the problem. So eliminate haloperidol. So therefore, now you are now then led to 1, 2, 4, and 5. But let's go over. Okay, let's go over with your dantrolene. So take note, your dantrolene is a muscle relaxant. So take note, the patient is developing muscle rigidity. So it's appropriate for us to give your dantrolene sodium. So this is a muscle relaxant. Yeah. Okay, so take note, eventually it would address your fever and muscle rigidity. So we include this one. Okay, next, bromocriptine. Okay, remember your bromocriptine is a dopamine agonist. So it would counteract your dopamine receptors, blockade caused by your antipsychotic. So usually, bromocriptine helps reverse your neuroleptic malignant syndrome. So typically, this is also given. So 1 and 2. Gaga, bakit may nagsagot ng number 3? Chester, why did you answer 3? Kakasabi lang, I just mentioned that you have to eliminate haloperidol because that is the offending drug. Etchosera ka. Hindi pa kasi ako tapos. Etchosera ka. Nangunguna ka na naman. Okay? So that's completely fine. Okay? So remember, your haloperidol should be stopped because that is the offending drug that causes your neuroleptic malignant syndrome. Next, we have your lorazepam. Remember, your haloperidol is a benzodiazepine, correct? Okay, so usually this is used for sedation, especially if patients would be, take note, usually patients with neuroleptic malignant syndromes are also agitated. So lorazepam is given. And your amantadine, so your amantadine is also a dopaminergic agent. Okay, so technically it is used as an adjunct therapy for patients with neuroleptic malignant syndrome. So especially this is given if your bromocriptine is not tolerated. So for example, if your bromocriptine is not tolerated, then you can give your amantadine. So remember, for patients with NMS, take note, remember your mnemonics BALD, no? B-A-L-D. So bromocriptine, your amantadine, your lorazepam, and we have your dantrolene. Take note of that, my dear colleagues. So you are correct, Rowena, 1, 2, 4, and 5. So haloperidol is eliminated because that is your offending drug. Okay? And so I hope everyone is learning. Ayan. So remember, this is an update really, no, in terms of your management for your neuroleptic malignant syndrome. Kasi before, what I knew as well would only be your bromocriptine and your dantrolene sodium, to be honest. So including lorazepam and amantadine, that's already an update. Okay? Next. So number 3, a nurse is caring for a pediatric patient receiving vincristine as part of your chemotherapy for leukemia. So which of the following side effect is most commonly associated with vincristine therapy? So first, you need to know what are the common medications or chemotherapeutic drugs that is used for your chemotherapy. Okay. First, we have your cyclophosphamides. Okay, so common chemotherapeutic drugs. Chemotherapeutic drugs. Okay. First, we have your cyclophosphamide. Okay. Cyclophospha, cyclophospha, kasi mais na. Famide. Ano ba yan? Buti na lang sa, thank God in NCLEX there's no spelling bee, no? So take note your cyclophosphamide, okay? Usually common side effects of patients taking in cyclophosphamide would be your hemorrhagic cystitis. Take note of this one. Okay. Okay. Next, we have second drug common in patients taking in your chemotherapeutic drug is your cisplatin. Okay. Take note your cisplatin is typically ototoxic and nephrotoxic. Okay. So if the patient if a patient is taking in cisplatin, check for hearing impairment. So patients might complain tinnitus. For nephrotoxic, so check for renal function. And we also have your adriamycin. Okay, so adriamycin is considered cardiotoxic. Okay, so you need to monitor your ECG. And lastly, we have your vincristine. Okay, so for vincristine, it is considered neurotoxic. So how would you know if patient would experience neurotoxicity? So look for tingling sensation, numbing, and we have peripheral neuropathy. Okay? So therefore, we are left with, what's our answer, my dear colleagues? What's your answer? O, di ba? Pag sinabi sa inyo, tsaka nyo alam. That's the problem, no? And that's completely fine. Okay? So therefore, our answer here is your peripheral neuropathy. Yeah. So this is our answer. So take note, these are common chemotherapeutic drugs. We have your cyclophosphamide, cisplatin, adriamycin, vincristine. Okay. So number 4. So
Miss
Aquanis,
McLean,
sir.
where is the tingling sensation in peripheral neuritis?
I think, sir, it's in the
Is it
clitoris.
in the labia? That's
That's a
my
different
favorite joke.
story, sir.
Yes, it's in the fingers and toes.
Yes.
Okay. Just joking around. Sorry.
Ayan. So thank you, sir. Ayan. No, I really like Sir Reno. Yes, this is fun learning. Thank you, Rama Amado. I think Rama Amado is a foreign body because she or he is not from the Philippines. Correct me if I'm wrong. Rama, are you a foreign body or a foreigner? Let me know.
Are you a
Foreign
foreign
body
body that
aspiration.
sticks or that spurts? What?
Age from Ghana. Oh, so you're from
Oh, yeah, she's
Ghana.
from
Okay.
Ghana. Okay, so she
Okay.
must be very healthy because she has a
Yes,
lot of
of
Ghana.
Ghana.
Okay. No, just to clarify, put everything into perspective, Miss McLean, I'd
Yes.
like to react on your haloperidol because, my internet is bad a while ago. So let me just clarify. Haloperidol is an antipsychotic,
Kotik.
correct?
Yes, sir.
And then it's the offending drug, just to summarize it. So you have to eliminate haloperidol. That's a strategy. And take note that lorazepam is a
Yes, sir.
benzodiazepine and it's given in order to prevent seizures also. So that's also a tip. I just would like to highlight that because that came out in the test
Okay.
recently.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, on to the next.
Okay, so we're down to our second to the last question. So Aklan is admitted with muscle pain, weakness, dark cola-colored urine, and elevated creatinine kinase level. So take note, what I like personally in the review system is that we don't give directly the diagnosis. Because with that, we are using the syndromic approach. Because in the actual exam, usually the question would just give you the signs and symptoms. So it's up to you to analyze or even oralize what would be the working diagnosis. Yes, I really like that, really. So some students would ask me, Ma'am, how would you identify if it's a syndrome or a symptom? Well, typically when you say syndrome, that's a set of signs and symptoms. So in this situation, so these are your syndrome. Okay. So let's go over with your number 4. So remember, muscle pain, weakness, dark cola-colored urine, and elevated creatine kinase. And take note, okay, the healthcare provider suspects a condition involving skeletal muscle breakdown. Okay, from this point on, you are given a clue that leading to a release of myoglobin into the bloodstream. So, if I were you, which can cause acute kidney injury. So basically in here, it does just not like just it does not directly give you the direct answer. But if you are in our system, you would definitely know what would be the working diagnosis. Sige nga, let's see. What would be if for example, just reading by the example, dear colleagues, what would be your working diagnosis? Oh, wala na namang nasagot. Okay, so Jevi say rhabdomyolysis with a question mark. Rhina say rhabdomayo. Then we have Chris, we have your rhabdo again. Okay, so actually you are correct. Okay, but take note, Jevi, you have to make sure that you are answering it with conviction. Okay, because in the NCLEX, you have to make sure that you are correct. Yan, okay. So take note, that's correct. So remember your rhabdomyolysis. So let's have, for those who do not know, let's have a little bit introduction. What is your rhabdomyolysis? So rhabdomyolysis. Okay. So take note, in your rhabdomyolysis, it's very simple, no? So take note, usually take note, if for example, if you're thinking about rhabdomyolysis, so take note that this could be, remember, skeletal muscle breakdown. It could be because of what? It could be trauma. Okay. It could be a result of prolonged immobility. Okay. Immobility. Okay. It can be also, okay, a result of your medication. Example of medication that can cause rhabdomyolysis would be your statins, like atorvastatin, okay? Statins and even some antipsychotics. Yan. Psychotics. Okay. Then it can also be a result of either heat stroke, okay, and even seizure. Yeah. So that's for your common causes of your
So, Miss
rhabdomyolysis.
McLean, do you think your rhabdomyolysis could occur especially in specific professions like firemen? Because they usually get exposed to a very hot environment.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you
And
think that they are really at risk for rhabdomyolysis?
yes, sir. They are yes, they are at risk because one of also the risk factors for rhabdomyolysis would be extraneous exercise. So it could either be that they're also at risk in terms of their occupation. So occupation, I think, matters in terms of having rhabdomyolysis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree.
Okay. So our LCAM heat exposure. Baka ibang heat exposure yan. Okay. So let's go over. So what are usually the triad of your rhabdomyolysis? So usually, common, we have your muscle pain. Okay, as you can see in the, okay, so muscle pain is the result of your muscle breakdown. Okay. Muscle fiber breaking down. Okay. Next, we have, okay, so usually for this one, your intervention would be assess the severity and location, and you can give prescribed pain medications and avoid further activity. So next is we have your muscle weakness. That's also in the case. Okay. So usually there is muscle weakness because the muscles are already inflamed. Yan. So what can you do if for example, there is muscle weakness? So you can assist with mobility. And of course, you can further prevent fall and injury. Ayan. So thank goodness in the NCLEX, there's no spelling. Okay, and then of course, we have your dark cola or dark colored, sorry, colored urine. Or sometimes we call it your cola or tea color urine. So this is already an indication that there would be your myoglobins, okay, myoglobins in the urine. So that's your myoglobinuria, okay? So take note. So if, for example, if patients would have dark colored urine or quality color urine, the first thing that you need to do is monitor urine output, and at the same time, you need to push IV fluids to flush the kidneys because this myoglobin can destroy your kidney. Okay? Ayan. So that's your triad for patients with rhabdomyolysis. Amyolysis, yes. And for your diagnostics, okay, usually there would be your elevated, so you can see here, elevated creatinine kinase. So that's already an indication that there would be kidney affectation. So take note for patients, how do you call this one? Diagnosed with rhabdomyolysis. So take note, the main treatment for your rhabdomyolysis is, okay, let me just put it here. So main treatment for patients with rhabdomyolysis would include, okay, number one, hydration. Okay, so hydration is key for patients with, take note, rhabdomyolysis. So you can give your IV normal saline, and the purpose of your IV fluids is to flush out your myoglobin to protect your kidneys. So quick reminder, take note for patients with rhabdomyolysis is to stop the offending drugs, especially if they are taking in your statins. Okay, so monitor your labs such as your creatinine kinase, your potassium, and your uh, BUN. And of course, if there would be electrolyte imbalance, treat that and watch out for acute kidney injury. Okay? So let's go over now with our choices. Let's go over ano kaya ang sagot natin. Do we administer your intravenous fluids aggressively? Yes or no? Remember what did we say? Rapid IV infusion or hydration is your priority. So we include one? Yes. Do we monitor your serum potassium levels? I did mention for your electrolyte imbalance. So yes. Okay. Do we restrict? Take note. Administer and then now restrict. So remember your priority is hydration. So this is incorrect. Okay. Next. Alkalinize the urine with sodium bicarbonate if ordered. So remember, alkalizing the urine reduces precipitation of your myoglobins in your kidneys. So yes. So this is included. Ayan. Next, we have encourage early ambulation and resistance exercise. Remember, there is muscle weakness. There is muscle pain. So what did we say? Avoid. No, assist lang yan. So the answer here is no. And monitor urine output and color closely. What's our answer? Yes. So this is included. So if you're going to take it on ASATA, so the answers are 1, 2, 4, and 6. Did you get it, my dear colleagues? Ayan. Okay. So I hope you are learning from that.
Wow. That's a wow, Miss McLean. It's a very thorough discussion, very impressive, and very NGN type of discussing the rational. This is how things should be done. Okay? Great. A lot of the comments here are saying thank you, and they are so participative. Okay, let's move
thank
on.
you. Yeah, thank you, sir, and the rest of my dear colleagues. So I think everyone is still excited, no? Thank you for staying with us. So don't worry, after
Yeah,
me, we
we have
have another mentor.
1,800 viewers on
Oh,
Facebook
really? Oh my God,
and
thank
more than
you.
100 here on YouTube. Thank you for
Wow.
spending your weekend with us.
Yes. Okay, so we are down now down to our last question. So a nurse is teaching a client with chronic pancreatitis. Remember, there are three types of your pancreatitis. You have your acute, your chronic, and your drug-induced pancreatitis. So about the correct use of your pancreatic enzyme replacement. So usually, take note, patients with chronic pancreatitis, so remember, they have problems in insulin production and production of your enzymes. So remember, your enzymes are essential for the digestion of your carbohydrates, your fats, proteins, etc. So take note, if they have chronic pancreatitis, so the function of your pancreas to produce the enzymes and your pancreas, particularly your pancreatic enzyme, is impaired. So that's why they are given lifetime pancreatic enzyme, especially if they are going to eat. Okay. So the question is asking, at which of the following times should the nurse instruct the client to take the pancreatic enzyme? Remember, this is a simple question. So before I give you the correct answer, let me know what is your answer. So remember, please,
I'm
you have to
pretty sure they will answer the old concept that we
correct,
learned
sir.
from
Correct.
the false prophets of the NGN on the internet that are teaching obsolete concepts.
Okay. I think, sir,
Come on, just try, just
because
try.
of your warning, I think they will not answer. But please try. Let's see. Allah. Okay. So Junarlene says 1 and 2. Chris says 2 and 4. Okay. How about the others? Chiradi, 1, 2, 4. Okay. Rowena says 1, 2, 4. Okay. Okay. So I think that's enough. Okay. Let's go over. Okay. Remember, okay, let's go over and answer first. With non-fat meals only. So this is wrong. Let's go upwards. So why? Take note, your pancreatic enzymes, especially, they are needed if you are taking in fats. Okay. So remember your lipase, particularly, no, breakdowns your fats. So this is wrong. Okay. On an empty stomach before bedtime. Gaga. Remember, your enzymes are not effective rather without food. So doing this no defeats the purpose of your pancreatic enzyme. So wrong. Okay. Next, with snacks that contain fat. Remember number 6 with non-fat, so that's somehow contradicting. So this is correct. So with snacks that contain fat, because your pancreatic enzyme contains your lipase or lipid. So this is responsible for the breakdown of your fat. So that is included. Okay. Next, 30 minutes after finishing meal. So remember, 30 minutes is too long, no? Is too long to maximize the effect of your enzyme. So this is wrong. Okay, that's too long. Okay. So let's go over with the first bite of meal. Yes. So remember your old concept? So with each meals and snack. So this is included still. Okay. So now then, do we give it immediately before a meal? What do you think? What do you think? Would you include one or no? Let's see. So April says yes, Asibar yes. So the correct answer is yes. You are correct. Immediately before meal. Why? To make sure that your enzymes are already present in your gut. So by that, they would eventually function as follow. Correct. You are correct. So but before kasi, the old updates would only entail us to with snacks that contain fat or with the first bite of meal or with every or each meal and snack. But right now, the update is we can give it immediately before a meal. So it could either be 5 minutes prior to your meal. So that to make sure that your enzymes are already present at your or in your gut. Okay? So let
Wow,
me know
Miss
your
McLean,
score.
we just hit 2,000 viewers on Facebook.
Yay!
Doing great. Thank you very
Yes.
much for trusting the
So,
Regapo system, the NGN authority. Let me say that the only next generation NCLEX authority in the world with a simulator of the NGN.
okay.
Okay.
So before I pass on the baton to our uh,
Vice
president,
President
so let me
for
know if
research
from 1 to 5, what's your score for those people who tried to answer. Let me know
who
what are your
tried to
score.
answer.
Okay, let me know your score. Wow, RL got 3. So Rowena got 4. Oh wow, that's good. I think this April got 3. Ferlida got
That means
3.
they are a bit updated. But
Yes.
still, the 2 points would have made the difference whether you will
Yes.
pass or fail. They're learning a
Okay.
lot
Thank you,
from the
everyone.
team.
So,
Thank you to our lead, 80 Fibers mentor.
thank you, Sir Ray. And on behalf, so thank you, my dear colleagues. So stay still. So we still have one of our best, okay, our VP4 research. So let's welcome our ever glowing first time mom, Mentor Che. Mentor Che.
Hello, Sir Ray, Mentor McLean. Thank you so
Hello,
much.
Mentor Che and Mentor McLean. We're joining you tonight. Panggulo lang kami. We're gonna
Wow,
make your
wow.
session a little disorganized with our thoughts. Anyway, okay, take it away, Mentor Che.